From the campus lights to the game day fight, Texas dust on the boots, packed out stands in the sun. Every school has a story, every season has one. Turn it up, lean in close, hear that crowd start to roll. The Cory Hogue Sports Show, the Cory Hogue Sports Show. Big stories and real conversations, bring the truth, let it roll. The Cory Hogue Sports Show, the Cory Hogue Sports Show. For the schools beyond the spotlight, where the heart of the game still shows.
This is the Cory Hogue Sports Show, and this is we're at episode 7, July 24th on a Friday. Hoping to have Tremaine Jackson. He couldn't hear me, so we had a little technical difficulties. We're a couple minutes late starting. Hopefully he can get back in here and we can get that corrected and get him on. That would be ideal. But if not, we have him to talk because he had a video last week, of course. But I want to say first a thank you to all of you listening, whether you're listening on a podcast platform of your choice or watching on Facebook, YouTube. You can watch live on Facebook, YouTube, and Substack. If you've got comments, get them in. We'll get to them as the show progresses. And, we talk about real conversations, bring the truth, let it roll. That's what I talk about here. And today, that's what we're talking about. The first one's going to be with Tremaine Jackson here in a second. And then the next one is up on, we got to talk about it. And a former MSU football player has been convicted of some heinous crimes, and the families and friends of the victims are asking for the head coach of MSU, Rich Renner, to be fired. And we're going to get into why. We got to have these real conversation, keeping it honest. That's what we do. And that's what this opening part is. You got to earn your wins, but your best effort, the right attitude, proper response, no quit, no excuses. You do that, and eventually you will be successful. Those are the keys. Win those moments, win those days. Speaking of winning moments and winning days, I hope sir, can you hear me? Coach?
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, awesome. Okay, we got the head coach of Prairie View A&M, Tremaine Jackson, joining us live. First off, Coach, thank you so much for joining us and giving us another chance. Sorry for the technical difficulties a bit ago.
No, Cory, no problem, man. I think I was the technical difficulty just then. It might have been me.
I am not I'm not a technology expert by any means, so I always think it's me. Well, the other day you posted a video on Twitter talking about the disrespect of the program, and it's something you've been talking about since you got there. The issue for you on this one was the THSCA, Texas High School Sports Coaches Association, didn't invite any of the coaches from your program to speak. And when you asked them why, they said coaches are invited based on last year's results. My first question, and this is one that, again, we got to keep it real. This is a true question. There was a time you made a statement about not building a program with 18-year-olds, and I understand it. I also think that got a little misconstrued, but that's getting brought up, and I'm curious your response.
Yeah, so, as I said before, Cory, I'm a Houstonian, I'm a Texan. I've been a member of the THSCA since 2006 when I started coaching. Every time I've worked in the state, I've been to the convention. So I know what Texas football is. I know what that convention is. And I've had a lot of conversations with high school coaches about 18-year-olds, me taking 25 18-year-olds. And to clear it up, I never said I wouldn't take a high school kid. I said I wasn't going to take a bunch of them. And so for people to start getting on this, you said you weren't going to take 18-year-olds. I never said that. I said I wasn't going to take a bunch of them. But I don't know anybody who is taking a bunch of them. I was at Texas State with Jake Spavital. Jake Spavital we didn't sign one high school kid, but the Texas THSCA still asked him to speak at the convention. So I don't understand the narrative. We forget about the things that have happened before. Well, I don't, because I'm from here.
Yes.
And so I get it. The harsh reality of it was Abilene Christian was there. They won the conference, went to the playoffs. Stephen F. Austin was there, and they spoke, won the conference, went to the playoffs. Tarleton was invited. They won the conference, went to the playoffs, but they had media day. Lamar spoke from the FCS. They went to the playoffs. So what the people, I haven't spoke with anybody on the executive board at the THSCA, but I have spoken to people on their regional boards and their high school boards. So when I was told that was a criteria, it fit, because all four of those teams on the FCS level either went to the playoffs or won the conference.
Yes.
Our volleyball coach at Prairie View A&M won the regular season conference. She spoke at the convention.
Yes.
Two people on our basketball staff, from what the regional guys told me, were called and invited, but it couldn't work. So you know how to get in touch with Prairie View A&M. You just chose not to get in touch with Prairie View A&M football.
Exactly.
And there's only one reason. There's only one reason why you didn't get in touch with Prairie View A&M football, and it's because you don't respect our ball. And I'm not gonna get off of that, because I used to sit on the other side when I was at Abilene Christian, when I was at Texas State, and I heard what people thought of HBCU football, and I used to be the guy to defend it.
I'm that
so
guy.
I'm not
now.
ignorant, and I'm not ignorant to the conversations, and so they can find somebody else to tell the nonsense to. They disrespected my coaches at the number 3 defense in the FCS. Nobody in Texas was in front of us. At worst, our defensive coordinator should have been there.
You have, and that point, that is as valid as it can be, because I want to throw out a little of the resume of not just you, but this is your staff. You brought most of them with you from Valdosta State. You've taken 2 different teams to national title games in the last 2 seasons?
The last 2 seasons.
2024, you were the AFCA, the Coaches Association D2 Coach of the Year. You were SWAC Coach of the Year this past year. Consecutive conference championships, 40-11 overall record as a head coach, and that includes time at Colorado Mesa, and we know how hard that is, right?
Yep.
So you say the issue is that they don't respect football, and when you talk about qualifications, you go over that resume, you're 100% correct that you, by all means, you should have had somebody from your staff given a clinic there.
Absolutely. And here's the deal. I don't know if I nominated our coaches. And so that's the other part of this deal too, because I didn't want anybody to say, we didn't know how to get in touch with you. I went to the website in April, and it's on the recommend a speaker. I nominated our staff.
Wow.
And so either the nomination machine don't work, or you really don't take anything from that, because as I talked to the other guys that did the speaking, they didn't nominate themselves. They didn't get themselves. Nobody nominated them. They were reached out to and invited. My staff has done a phenomenal job with lesser resources than all of those people I mentioned.
Yes.
And I think if you're trying to give the high school coaches something they can hold on to, something that they can take back and get their players better, regardless of whether we recruit their high schools, regardless of if we don't take anybody besides 25-year-old guys, you missed an opportunity to give your coaches the best in the state.
Correct. And the thing is, look, in 2026 college football, with the transfer portal, how things are at this moment, you're not building with high school kids. The high school kids are the ones that have suffered the most from this, from the last few years. Yep. And I don't, maybe the 5 for 5 will help some of that, but you still have a transfer rule. And listen, you tell me a 23-year-old is not much more physically mature than an 18-year-old. It's just not possible. So coaches you got to build a team that way. You're not the only one I talked to. I talked to some other coaches here the last couple of days, and they said the same thing. That's how you build. But I do want to, again, I got to keep it real with you. And so you talk about the disrespect of HBCU football, and you are right, man. I grew up here in Wichita Falls. I remember Prairie View was like 80-game losing streak. It was horrendous for me because I don't like to see people lose like that. But I did a little research, and I think this situation, what's it going to take to get HBCU that respect, right? That's how I was looking at this. And I look at it from the angle of what I told the Southland Conference a few years ago when they're talking about what's it take. What it takes is you've got to play these teams and beat these teams. And right now, as a conference, the SWAC was 5-20 against non-conference, non-HBCU, FBS or FCS teams in the last 2 years. And of those wins, there's 3 against East Texas, 2 against Northwestern State. Those aren't the top levels. You've got to be very competitive or at least win more of those games, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you, Cory. And that's why we've scheduled Tarleton State. That's why we've scheduled Stephen F. Austin. We're playing Baylor. Man, I didn't come from another HBCU. I came from a place that would whoop everybody besides Fair State. Those are the only people we didn't whoop. And so my whole thought process is different than others in our conference, than others in black college football. I don't want to be a black college coach. I'm just a college football coach that coaches at a HBCU, and I'm proud of it. And I chose to come to a HBCU. I didn't have to come here. I had other options on the PWI side. And so, but because we came and we're here, then you know who we are because we've probably beat you before. So don't put us in the category of whatever you thought this was. At least give us the common respect that, man, these guys can coach. And here's why I say that. We've won 10 plus games the last 3 years as a staff.
Yes.
We've been in the top 5 of defensive categories on every level that we've coached on the last 3 years. We've spoke at clinics across the country. People come to our practices to see what we're doing. So don't disrespect us because you think our school is something. And really, quite frankly, Cory, they know better. They know how we get down.
They do. And I know this is a part of this as well. And when we keep it real, we got to talk about it. You cannot say that race doesn't play a factor with some of this. Not saying it's a racist, anything of that nature, but it is in the South and in where I still live, I meet many of people who still don't see HBCU as anything other than the other universities that were started around, during the civil rights era.
Absolutely.
And that's not the correct view.
Well, and here's my issue with that. If it is a race deal, which I don't know if it is or if it ain't, I sure see a lot of brothers running, catching, jumping, throwing in the Power 4. So you can't like us on one side, not the other.
Yes.
Either you like us or you don't. either you believe in our athleticism or you don't. And let's get a bunch of Caucasian guys, Texas versus Texas A&M. See how exciting that is. I bet you're gonna want some of us. and so it just is what it is. So I don't really think I'm not playing the race card. I'm playing the respect card.
Yes, and I'm not saying you're playing the race card either.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, but I have seen some comments of he's playing the race card. I'm not playing the race card. I'm playing the respect card. You don't respect our ball because of what you said, because we're 5-20. Well, I wasn't here then.
Yes.
I'm 1-1. We beat Northwestern State. We lost a close one to UTRGV, which is a really good football team. And they beat some others that look like them.
Bingo.
And so for us, give us an opportunity to get our program in place. In year 2, we're going to play number 5 in the country, and Stephen F. Austin is going to be somewhere in the top 10.
Yes.
And we're playing them early.
Yes.
And so we're going to find out what we are.
And this is why I love speaking to you. By the way, you're the first guest ever on the Cory Hogue Sports Show, and I am so happy that it is you, because when we discuss stuff, man, you understand, you know the secret, the keys to success. It's not a secret. You know what it takes to be successful, and you implement those with such consistency. 3 years of at least 10 wins, 2 consecutive national titles. But here's the problem. They don't know it. Those dudes aren't keeping track of D2 football. All they know is he had 1 good year. Let's make him have another good year. I think that could be a part of it as well, because they honestly don't know how good you were in D2.
Yeah. Yeah, the same can be said for the other FCS schools in our state. There hadn't been a lot of consistent champions around here. And I've been at some of those places. I was at Abilene Christian when we were coming into Division I, and 6-5 was the best season that they ever had, right? And so at 6-5 after the 18th season, I ended up leaving, but I got more calls to speak on 4-3 defense because we had a 6-5 season.
Yeah,
we were 6-5, and we got a lot of calls to come speak at all these different conventions. And so I think people respect what they're familiar with and what they want to respect. And I understand it. All I'm saying is, don't set a criteria. I'm not asking for DEI. I understand what the state believes on that. I'm not asking for any special favors. But if your criteria is your criteria, then why? I really had a question. Why didn't you call us? Why didn't you? Yeah, why didn't you call my offensive coordinator who averaged 30 points a game? Why didn't you call my DC? Tremaine Jackson has no desire to speak at the Texas High School Coaches Association convention. I've done it on the highest levels of the American Football Coaches Association. So I don't have to do it in Texas. I've done it in America.
Yes.
And so, but my coaches deserve that. And your coaches deserve to hear from the best. And that's all I was saying. I've watched them fly Kirby Smart in here. I've watched them fly Lincoln Riley in here. I've watched them fly all these people that you see on TV, and the guys that they have in high school, in Texas high school, don't have the consistency of players as people from Georgia, Oklahoma, USC. They don't have, it's not 14 5-stars on one team.
Yeah.
But Prairie View A&M probably has a little bit closer product than what you have in high school, because we've had to assemble guys from all these different places, and we really still have to coach somebody.
Yes. And you know how to evaluate and coach and build them up. And that's why I think I want to transition quickly into your team this year. Because, listen, I get the attention right now. All attention when it's dead summer sports time is great attention for people like me, right? But I also know that you guys are focused, and I want to hear what Prairie View is going to bring to the table in 2026.
Yeah, Cory, we got 2 different schedules in one, right? And this is what I told our team. When we got here, we said we wanted to be a premier elite FCS program. In order to do that, you have to play premier elite people. Yeah. And so we've got our non-conference schedule with Tarleton and Stephen F. Austin, Baylor, East Texas A&M, and that's our national respect schedule. And then we've got our schedule that gets us to our national championship, which is the SWAC schedule, 5 West games, 3 crossover games. We're looking to play in the SWAC championship. We really believe that if we beat Prairie View A&M and not allow ourselves to go out here and beat ourselves, then we'll have a chance every week. I don't know. We got a lot of new guys, Cory. I don't know if anybody can play, just like I didn't know if anybody could play last year. And we won't know until we play somebody else. But what I do know is what we put in our kids and how we go about our business And everybody always talks about culture. Our kids, the culture in our program is run by the players now, and I manage it. And it's so much better today than it was a year ago. And we're not 100%, but I don't want to play against our kids because I think they'll strike you and they'll claw your eyes out. We might not win the game, but you're gonna leave with no eyes because we're gonna try to beat the brakes off for you. And that's the mentality in our building. And so
That's why you win. It is. And that's why I love how, because when we talk about it, you get it, right? And not every coach gets that recipe. You know, they just don't. And I do not, this is not bloviating at all to say that in Cory Hogue's, whatever the heck that's worth, in my list of top coaches that I cover, you're right there at the very top tier because you do understand not only how to have success, but then put in the work and get others to do that as well, to then have that consistent success that is so hard and so rare to find.
Yeah. Yeah, no, man. I would be none of that without my staff.
Exactly.
None of
you know that.
None of
and you're defending
I would be
them
none
on
of that.
this.
Yeah, I would be none of that. And they spend so much time with our players, man, and watching them. You know, people always think because we have transfer guys, we don't have to develop them. That's one of the biggest lies out there, right? Like there's a lot of guys we get from the Power Whatever conference that don't even know how many people eligible in our game. Don't even know how many people are supposed to be on the line of scrimmage. But you would think because they came from X, Y, and Z place that they should know that. And so we spend a lot of time developing guys on the basics of our game, and to watch those guys coach with great detail, to watch those guys coach with enthusiasm, and to watch them deal with the problems of the guys that we got. Man, I'm always going to go to bat for my staff because there's 4 of them that's been with me ever since Colorado Mesa. And they haven't left, and they've had options.
That's the thing. That's the thing that is so incredible to me, is that they know you're going to go to bat for them, and that they have that loyalty with you because they know that it's a together thing. You guys it's a unit of these coaches that you're taking. It's not an individual. And to build that collective trust is some of the hardest things to do in life.
Yeah. Yeah. No, man, I love my staff.
Yeah. Well, and you love your players too.
Yep.
And
yep.
It shows. And, sometimes there's a story coming up here in a few minutes that coach loves his players, and I don't know, but now people are trying to get him fired, and that's crazy to me, right?
Yeah.
Because he didn't flat out say he disagreed. That he didn't condone the crimes that his former player had committed. Look, if you think he condones those, that's crazy in my opinion, but that's just me.
That's just you.
But hey, Tremaine, thank you so much for coming on. I truly appreciate it. And I wish you the best of luck this year. Hey, quickly though, if you go through this early schedule and you come out on the other end with maybe just 1 or 2 losses, you run the SWAC FCS playoffs or national championship game?
We're gonna go to the Celebration Bowl.
I love it.
We got to fight. We got to finish, man. And that's very important to the guys that came back. And so we're going to make sure that we get that done for them and for the ones that wasn't able to get it done. So we look forward to talking to you again, man, in around Christmas time with a trophy.
You darn right. You've always got a place here, Tremaine. You just let me know when. And thank you so much for being here, man.
Thank you, man. Go Panthers.
A big thank you to Prairie View A&M head coach Tremaine Jackson. He is so good. He is so good. You get nothing but the truth from him. You get flat honesty. And when you get those things from someone and they know how to put it together in a team, he understands the consistent success that I search for, and he knows how to get it there. All right, we got a couple comments coming in. Let's get here and look. This one is watching on YouTube. Let me get my screen up here a little bit so I can see it. Cory and Coach Jackson, Prairie View was definitely disrespected, but it won't happen next season. Hopefully I can catch a PV game this season. Jay Washington said that. Hey, thanks, Jay, for watching. And by the way, if you have never been to an HBCU game, go. It's bucket list stuff. Get there early. Watch the bands come in. It's a show for 4 to 5 hours, because when the game is over and there's a show during the game too with the athletes, and then the bands at halftime, and then afterwards, and the bands do the battle, there is nothing better. There's no environment like that. You've got to experience. It is so much fun. Brings joy to football. Those are really the most fun games you have. When you've got so much involved and the fans are involved. And if you're in the Houston area, Texas Southern's homecoming game is at NRG. Plenty of room. Go. Telling you, you will not be disappointed when they play Southern. There will be a lot of people there. General Sam, he watches March to the Pod. Thank you, sir. As a Sam fan, Coach, you was preaching. Yes, he was, and that's what he does. That's why I love Tremaine. That's why I love having him on, talk to him, because he's what I think all of us need to strive to be. We are who we are. We are who we say we are, and that's what this show's about. Keeping it real. That is it. I'm keeping it honest. And I want people, sometimes you might, not every coach is that way a lot of times with it, but this guy's not afraid to say what comes on his mind. He's not wrong. And you may not necessarily agree with how or some of that, but make this very clear. This man is doing one thing and one thing alone. He's not trying to stoke any race-baited hate stuff. Never. This is about his staff. This guy, you want to send your kid to someone who's going to take care of them, send them to someone who takes care of their staff and puts them first, because that staff is then going to put your kid first. That's where you want to be. And this is the care and the love that he has for his assistants gets shown down, passed down. That's the example set. And when the top guy's setting the right example, people are going to follow. And they want to be around that. He keeps his assistant coaches. That is so impressive to do, from a Colorado Mesa to a Valdosta to a Prairie View A&M, and now another. Listen, they're invested in this. They believe in that man's dream. And I'm not going to predict any national championships yet, but I think the HBCU is well within their grasp this year. And it wouldn't surprise me, with a few more years of some building, there could be FCS playoff runs involved. How far? I don't know. But again, I say you want respect. That's that you people are going to want you all over the place, and you won't be at Prairie View much longer if you're doing that. You're going to be headed high, and that is where I feel like that Tremaine's going. He's going high up on the list. And again, thank you so much to him for coming on. Okay, I am going. Hold on a second. I'm going to take a quick 15-second break here, and then we're going to come back. As you see, if you're watching on Facebook, Substack, or YouTube, Lone Star Conference football predictions that are not like what was put out yesterday at the LSC Media Day, not in any way. I'm telling you, there are some surprises here. I might be off my rocker. Be back in 15 seconds. Okay. Thank you for waiting through that. General Sam, watching on YouTube again, says he could come to Sam if Longo doesn't work out. Let me tell you, sir, I had Jason Eck was my choice last time, and he went to New Mexico, and he's going to do great things there. He's on his way up. Tremaine Jackson's that territory. He's going to win. It doesn't matter where he's at. He's going to win. And if someday March to the Pod can interview him on there because he's the coach of Sam Houston, I would absolutely love that. He is welcome anytime. I learn and feed off that energy. It's very infectious. And it helps me because the journey for me is not always as easy as it is for some. Lone Star Conference predictions. There's a lot of uncertainty this year. Central Washington, the defending champs, UT Permian Basin, national quarterfinalist, new head coaches. West Texas A&M returns a team and a program that finished 2025 with 4 consecutive wins and a Heritage Bowl victory. That's momentum. Angelo State trying to recover. Last year was an unusual year under head coach Jeff Gersh. And Eastern New Mexico it's a controversial coaching hire just because of a name. It's crazy. It's crazy. We can never move on as a society, can we? And I don't say that in a way to demean anyone, any victims in any way, shape, or form. But that's what we're always going to remember. And the people on one side are going to think they're right, and the people on the other side are going to stick by their guns and say they're right. And I'm not convincing anyone on either side. So you're not going to hear me talk about it. Just how it is. I'm not getting into all that. That was not non-FBS football. Do I understand why he's been persona non grata at a lot of places? Yes, I do. I get it. You expect a man not take a job in a school not to want him? Let me tell you. I'm not giving ahead a preview here because I really don't think a whole lot of this year yet. But I think in a couple of years, Eastern New Mexico is going to be right up there at the top of the league with him. He's that good a head coach. He knows how to do this. The conference is using a 10-team round robin, so they have 9 games. Every team plays 11 regular season games, so they get 2 non-conference. Those are very important games. We're going to go in reverse order. Starting with number 10, Sul Ross State. They were 0-11 last year. Lee Hayes is in his second season. And the first season didn't go well. They struggle to remain competitive. Listen, this has nothing to do with Lee Hayes' ability to coach football. This has to do with the fact that Sul Ross is one of the hardest places on earth to coach and to build a football team at Division II competitively year in and year out. That's what it's about. Sul Ross, hopefully they can show some improvement. And yes, they're still kind of they're still trying to get over the transition from D3 to D2, but you've got to have the funding and the facilities, and they just don't exist right now at Sul Ross. It could change someday, but it's not changing this year. The biggest question for me, I want to see the Lobos just competitive for 4 quarters against not the top of the conference, but middle bottom. You got to compete all 4 quarters there against those. That, I think, would be your sign of improvement. Number 9, Western New Mexico. Billy Hickman enters his 4th season, 2-9 overall last year, 1-8 in the Lone Star Conference. 6-26 overall at Western New Mexico. This is another one that it's a hard place. It's a hard place to win, and I think Billy Hickman does a fantastic job. The offense has been really good. But they do have a new defensive coordinator, Austin Bortle, hired to oversee a unit in need of immediate improvement, right? Because the Mustangs' problem is not the offense; it's been the defense, and they get some defensive play. Their defense improves a little bit. They can become a little more dangerous to the middle of the conference, and so that if Austin Bortle can do that, that would be outstanding. Now, Western New Mexico, they host Eastern, Angelo State, and Western Oregon. And that's a hard trip to Western New Mexico. That is a hard trip. It's a hard trip to Eastern New Mexico. It's a hard trip out to Silver City as well. Now, they travel to West Texas A&M, but they travel to Central Washington and UTPB. Those aren't necessarily as hard of trips for them. It's the ones going out there that's in the middle of nowhere. They figured out, they have adjusted to it. Yeah, you do it long enough, you get adjusted to it. The schedule offers an opportunity for them to escape the bottom of the standings this year. But the question is, if they get any sort of defensive changes that produce meaningful improvement, are they in the top 6 at the end of the year? Number 8. And this one will surprise you mostly, I believe. UTPB. Chris Softly enters his first season. He has a tremendous high school record, 101-22. Last year, the Falcons were 11-3 overall, 7-2 in the Lone Star Conference. They went into the playoffs. It was a national quarterfinal team, but almost none of that infrastructure built from the previous staff is there anymore. And Softly comes in from the high school ranks. And sometimes those guys are successful and sometimes they're not. And I know he's got a staff, but also there's been murmurs of funding issues with the Falcons. And if you're bringing in a high school coach and you're not giving him the financial advantage to compete, that is not a fair shake. Now, that was also a private school in high school. Maybe he'll be I don't think recruiting is an issue for everybody talks about recruiting. I don't know that that's the issue. It is just a difference in dealing with 15 to 18, 19-year-olds and 18, 19 to 23-year-olds. The maturity is a whole different thing, and some coaches are built for that and some aren't. And we will see soon enough whether Softly is one of those that communicates well. And is recruiting well and understands what it takes. We'll find out soon enough. But they also didn't inherit much of a roster. They are having to build everything. That makes this year so difficult. They remain, I think they're going to remain capable of beating some of the bottom teams in the conference. But, man, I see this being a really substantial rebuilding season. And it will have nothing to say about Softly as a head coach. It's the facts of what it is. So that's the question. Can Softly build a sustainable program at UTPB without the staff, most of the staff, and most of a roster that was not a part of that? You got to build that in. Number 7, Midwestern State. They finished 3-8 overall last year, 3-6 in the Lone Star Conference. They endured consecutive losing seasons under Rich Renner. They are still physical defensively, but let's be clear, the problem with MSU is inconsistent quarterback play, and then that creates an inability to generate explosive offensive plays. And those are the things that the winning teams of Bill Maskell were able to do. And Renner has brought in the offensive people. They've got to recruit the guys to do this. They've got to recruit the guys because Renner's the defensive guy. He's not over there getting in your offensive business. But if the Mustangs are going to win, that the offense has got to be much improved, and those offensive guys have got to be the ones to do it. And at this point, it's a prove it to me. I need you to show me that you can. But that doesn't make Midwestern State easy to play, because they could very well improve from their overall record. They got a defense that's going to keep them in games. If they can win some of these games, they're home against Western New Mexico, Texas A&M, Kingsville, they're going to need a win over them. Eastern New Mexico at home. Man, those are the things you need around here. The question is, can they score enough offense? Can they score enough points to support a competitive defense? If they can, I see a possible winning record. But you got to prove it to me. I haven't seen it yet. Number 6, someone that hasn't proven it to me in the Lone Star Conference yet, but I believe he will this year, and that's one Art Briles. Eastern New Mexico comes in at number 6. Nobody had more attention than Eastern New Mexico. Art Briles returns, and if he's going to return to a place, this is probably the best he could do. It's a very remote location, right? And this for him fits his mentality. It fits his personality. It's a place where I think he can thrive. It really is, because you look at what matters to Art Briles in the grand scheme of things, and Portales is like you get people complaining there ain't nothing to do. I think Art Briles will be all right with that. Just seems like that kind of guy to me, right? Like, that's a perfect place for him. And at this point, maybe that's all he wants. Will it ever get rid of what the people against him? No. Should it? That's up to them. I don't make those choices. Personally, does it affect my trust level at some point? Of course. I'm a human. I'll hold it against the man and what he does in football at Eastern New Mexico right now as a professional? No. As a professional? No. I would never. And that's the thing. I would never hold that against him as a professional, which means on the personal level, I don't hold it. I don't forget. I don't hold it. And we know why. Our Briles thing. I'm not getting into all that. But the Greyhounds had 3 consecutive losing seasons. They've gone from air raid back to they went from Kelly Lee and his more flexbone option-based offense to air raid, back to Kelly Lee and the flexbone, and now back to Art Briles. The athletes are different. You're going to have to take some running backs and put them in wide receivers. You've got to recruit talent. There, I think there might be some talent gap, especially with you bringing in a new system that you're going to need. So I think it's going to take time, and that's why I don't have them any higher than 6th this year. Number 5, I've got Texas A&M Kingsville. 5-6 overall last year, 4-5 in the Lone Star Conference. Scott Parr is in his 2nd season. There were some encouraging moments last year, and I think they got more competitive offensively, which is his key. That's his strong suit. And they gained some confidence in his system, and they can carry that momentum into this year. The problem they have is they got a tough early schedule. They're against Northwest Missouri State, and then they travel to play Saginaw Valley State. Coming out of those games healthy is going to be really key for them when they start getting into the Lone Star Conference. They do host West Texas A&M and Central Washington. I think those 2 games are at home. Maybe you could pull one of those off. Look, the Javelinas are hard to beat at home. They really are. They're capable of finishing above 500 in conference this season. They just got to turn some of those close losses into wins. And so that's the question. Can the Javelinas develop enough consistency to win the close games? Number 4, the Angelo State Rams. 6-5 in 2025, 4-5 in the Lone Star Conference. A very unusual season under Jeff Gersh, who is entering his 8th season there. That's just incredible. I remember the day he was hired. Like, stop. Angelo State, one of the most difficult teams to predict because they're still going to be, I have no doubt, one of the league's most talented programs. But they did not end on good momentum. There were significant changes to the staff. Jason Johnson's in as offensive coordinator. Joe Ford as defensive coordinator. One thing I know is Jeff Gersh, he's going to demand success. It's hard for me to think that Angelo's not better than they were last year. The question will be for them, the question I have for Angelo is if they've got enough to overcome the top three. They do have a good schedule, right? But they do have that game. They got to travel to Western Oregon. And if talent level is tight, the trip and travel, and you never know if you're going to have your luggage on those trips. Those are hard. Those are hard trips. They do have the talent. I believe in Jeff Gersh as a head football coach. When you're talking about my top tier of head football coaches, non-FBS, Jeff Gersh is in that number two. He's up there at the top. So I think they're better. I can't quite pull the trigger on moving them above number 3, Western Oregon, 8-3 overall last year, 7-2. Arm Ferguson's 22nd season. That guy is so fun. And he is such a good coach. And they are quietly moving their way up the Lone Star Conference. They tied for second, entered the final weeks last year with a legitimate shot to win the championship. And some could say maybe had Central Washington beat. We know Ferguson can coach. They're going to be well coached. It is so hard to win. They are very difficult to travel and beat. Problem for them is their travel to Texas. They host UT Permian Basin, Kingsville, and West Texas A&M. So they're traveling to Central Washington. Okay. That could be a playoff elimination game, or it could be for the Lone Star Conference Championship. The Wolves may not have the same overall roster depth as maybe a Central Washington. We'll see. I'm not sure what Central Washington's going to have. I'm also not sure what anyone else is going to have. Right? We really don't know. We're going to prove it on the field. But they have a legitimate opportunity to win the championship. They're going to be hard to beat on the road. Can they replace enough of the production that they lose? Because they were a bit of an older team and remain a championship contender. I believe in Ferguson. Number 2, Central Washington. Last year, 8-3 overall, 7-2 in the Lone Star Conference. 10-2 overall, 9-0 in the Lone Star Conference last year. I apologize. I got that wrong. But they no longer have Chris Fisk. He is out. Now, Scott Power returns to Ellensburg. Yes, he was at Central Washington before. And Scott Power is a tremendous defensive coach, a tremendous hire for Central Washington. I am a big fan of this. He has won a national championship. He was the defensive coordinator at East Texas A&M. I'm not even going to give the former name. East Texas A&M. He was the defensive coordinator when they won the title in 2017. So he knows how to win. And I don't think Central Washington's going to slip very far. He has a defensive background. I don't think the formula, I don't know that how much the schemes will change defensively either. Could help them. They're going to be good along the line of scrimmage too. And I think they're going to have the talent. They do host West Texas A&M, and obviously that could be for a conference championship game. And if that's the case, Central Washington's got to have got to give them a favored status with being at home. They also host Kingsville and Western Oregon. Now they travel to Angelo State. And listen, that's not easy travel for these teams because they fly into Dallas-Fort Worth and then they bus it from DFW to Angelo and then back. They go to Eastern New Mexico. Guess what? Where's the closest major area? They go to DFW and they bus it. UT Permian Basin, DFW, and they bus it. That's why that travel's so hard for those teams. And by the way, to go out there, same goes for these Texas teams. When they go to Central Washington or Western Oregon, they got to bus it a few hours somewhere, big airport. Some teams had private, some better accommodations for travel than others. And it does help. It does help, especially on those long trips. Number one, my prediction to win the Lone Star Conference this year is West Texas A&M. They were 8-4 last year, 7-2 in the LSC. This is Josh Lynn's fourth season. Now we need to, this is when I believe we see it's been progress recently for him. Needed progress, but it's been progress. They won their final 4 games last year. 28-27 win over Arkansas Tech in the Heritage Bowl. They've got momentum, and momentum, as I've talked multiple times, positivity breeds positivity. Josh Lynn has steadily rebuilt the program there. And he's steadily overcome some issues he had in the first couple seasons after some recruiting violations that, again, go Google it if you really want to know. I wrote about it. He owned up to it. It's not that big a deal. Let's be honest. It's not like it didn't happen at other places. And the other thing is, Josh Lynn really feels good about his team. When Josh Lynn feels really good about his team, they can be really dangerous. Can they make that leap, though? Here's the question. Can they make the leap to being a postseason contender? And do they make what many of their fan base want to see, a continued leap into a national contender? That's the expectation at West Texas A&M, as it should be. Can they make that? But first, you got to take the first leap to postseason contender. Both those leaps can be taken this year. I don't think we get that far, but I think a leap to postseason contender is a real possibility. So I have WT, Central Washington, Western Oregon, Angelo State, Kingsville, Eastern New Mexico, UTPB, MSU, Western New Mexico, and Sul Ross as my predicted order. Playoff teams, I think I'm going to go West Texas A&M since they're the champion. They get the automatic bid. I'm going Central Washington as well, but I'm sticking with 2. I think a dark horse is Western Oregon. I think the team most likely to exceed where I have them is Angelo State. And no doubt the most intriguing team is Eastern New Mexico. Very, very much so. Okay, I'm going to take another 15-second break. And when I come back, we are going to discuss another very difficult situation in Wichita Falls. Thank you for staying with me. I apologize. Hey, if you would rather hear like an ad or something during that, and you know people who do that stuff, because I don't really go out and look a ton to get advertisers and stuff. It's just not something that I exceed at all. And so if you know people, send them my way. Cory Hogue Sports, CoryHogue Sports @gmail.com. Thank you so much again for being with me today. This is a long show, and I do apologize for that. But at the same time, a lot of stuff that we need to get to, including this story. Haven Watson, former MSU football player, was convicted a few days ago on 4 counts of aggravated sexual assault and 1 count of burglary of a habitation with intent to commit a sexual offense. He was sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences for the sexual assault and another life sentence that runs concurrently for the burglary of a habitation charge. It is heinous. It is wrong. He was a player at MSU during the time, and I do remember a private conversation I had with Coach Renner. I was usually going there about every Tuesday after practice, and I remember broaching that subject a little bit, and all he said, from what I remember, you could just tell it wasn't good. And he made clear there was no defense of what he was charged with and now been convicted. Accused of at the time, charged, now convicted. It's now sentenced. The problem is KFDX TV3, and they're not the problem, but Ashley Waters, the reporter, was there and got reaction from the families and friends of some of the victims. Here is a snippet of what was. The story last night on the news was about 3 minutes 45 seconds long. I have cut it down a little bit here to just the parts where they're talking about Coach Renner. I want to address this first. There's 2 parts to this. There's Coach Renner, and then there's the university. So the first part for me is Coach Renner. That's what we're going to discuss first. Here's what they had to say about Coach Renner.
Sentencing. Those affected say they believe justice has been served, but say MSU needs to take accountability after head football coach Rich Renner took the stand during the sentencing phase of the trial.
I do not feel that justice has been served with MSU, and by the additional just slap in the face of the MSU football coach today, basically not caring about anybody except for his former football player.
During MSU head football coach Rich Renner's testimony, he said Watson was a quiet student and a great teammate and was, quote, the last person he would expect to commit these crimes. Gillespie then asked whether Watson's convictions had changed his opinion of him. Renner replied that he still loves Watson as a former student and teammate, and that his opinion of him has not changed. A friend of one of the victims says MSU needs to hold accountability for Renner's testimony.
They need to put out a statement that they do not stand with this kind of behavior, and they need to get rid of the coach immediately. I saw this man who holds a position of power at MSU, who is in charge of these football players, defend a convicted serial rapist on the stand.
I think that he should be terminated immediately from this position. He is not a man that needs to be in charge of any young men. He is a terrible example for these young men.
And that, again, the reporter was Ashley Waters, KFDX TV3. And those were the words of the mother of one of the victims and a friend of a victim. These are real conversations. These are hard conversations. Because you have to add perspective. It's so hard to take that step back. And am I surprised that the victims and the victims' families and friends have not taken that step back to find perspective? You darn skip. I am not surprised. I wouldn't either if I was in their situation. I would not. That is not saying that I think where they want that it's necessarily valid when put into a perspective of what was actually happening. You have to break it down to what was going on. And what got people riled up was, okay, if you've ever been in a court and you have had attorneys, they tell you to be brief, right? And so what was this? This was the sentencing, the punishment phase of the trial. So the defense, they are there to defend and try to get their guy as little a sentence as possible. So they asked Coach Renner to be a character witness. Let me explain something to you. In a college locker room, when you send your kid to a place, you want to know that coach treats them like a kid, like one of their own children. We've been over that today. That's what you want to make sure. Because, those coaches, those assistant coaches you love on that staff, they're loving on those kids. They're going to treat them. You want them to treat them honestly, just like you would treat your kid. And in that case, this case here, Renner was called to the stand to testify for the defense on the sentencing portion. Now, I understand the victims and the families and all this. Look, these emotions are high. They are raw. They are real. They are not wrong. They are right. You cannot tell them their emotions are wrong. I cannot fathom what would happen if something happened to my daughter. And the thing is, there's other parts to this. You're asking him to go up there, and then you've got a prosecutor. And by the way, John Gillespie is outstanding at what he does. And he's asking him questions, and he's been instructed to be quick, blunt, right? Honest, right there. And so they ask him questions of, does this change your opinion? It doesn't. It might change your view. But if it's my kid, if my kid does something that they need prison time for, I'm not going to condone it. I don't approve. But I'm not abandoning them either. And you don't want your head football coach to abandon them because you lose that locker room as soon as you do. Do I think Rich Renner wishes he could have worded things a little bit differently? Of course, who doesn't? When I get done with this today, I'm going to think about what I said and see if I worded anything wrong, and then, hopefully try to not beat myself up about it, because that's not the goal. It's honesty. Now, there will be those that automatically attack. There will be those that automatically defend. Some of those that defend, some of those that attack, it doesn't matter what you say, they're never going to come to your side. And then some of those that defend as well, they're going to use things like they're going to use religion, and they're going to use, him being holding a position at the local First Baptist Church. I believe he does. I don't know. They're going to sell you on a wholesome Christian value family man. I'm going to sell you on a wholesome family man, because I don't want to put Coach Renner on the Christian family value side, because in my opinion, there is no morals in the Christian side when you've got preachers and other people taking advantage of children, little boys and little girls, and possessing things like that. That is not, you do not earn the right of the moral code. Those people should not feel safe and comfortable anywhere around you if you're truly doing things the right way. That's my feeling on that. I'm not saying I'm right. Please tell me I'm wrong. Please do. Let me hear it. I am open to communication. My views, and that's what these are, my view of Haven Watson is that he's a convicted criminal of sexual assault. It is heinous. And I wouldn't trust Watson for anything. And it's a good thing he's locked away for life. He's not getting out, guys. He's not getting parole. He ain't getting out. Justice was served for him. But if I was a coach on that team and he was one of my players, my view would change, but not my opinion. I can tell you from all of my dealings, if I had to put a tier of most honorable men that I have met in the non-FBS coaching ranks, in that top tier is Rich Renner. In that top tier is Rich Renner, because he is tremendous. And that is that part. I do not think he should be fired for this. I don't think they need to put out a TV report for this. I am not attacking the victims. I'm not attacking who spoke out, because they're right to be upset. I get it. I don't, but I do. As much as I could without being in your shoes. I'm empathetic to this. And that's why at the same time, I'm going to tell you that MSU needs to be held accountable. And for what they need to be held accountable for is another part of that report from KFDX TV3 that I clipped. Listen to this.
Families of the victims say they have concerns about the way MSU handled this situation.
The initial criminal act, that they did not provide safety for the students. They were advised to take the names off the doors of the residents there, and they refused to. And in doing that, they contributed to the second and third assault that happened on campus.
If that is true, I don't know. I am not an attorney, and I am not playing one, and I don't become one when I sleep at Motel 6, Holiday Inn, something. I don't become one overnight. So I don't know. But if it is true and there is a case to be had against the university, they should be held accountable for that. If you're advised for the safety of your students to take down the names off the doors after one assault and you don't, and that helps, and you can prove that helped lead to the second and third, you got to be held accountable somehow, some way. How it is, I don't know. That's not for me to decide. That's just my opinion. I think the school should be held accountable. Okay. Enough about that stuff. Thank God. Let's talk about something else that happened today. Couple of quick things, and then I'm going to get out of here. LeBron James chooses the Philadelphia 76ers. He is teamed up with Philly next year. Now, you're going to hear everyone give their opinion, so why won't I give mine? And I want to hear your opinion. Let me know yours. Again, we can talk about these things. I am curious. I have heard already Charles Barkley on Stephen A. Smith's show when I was driving back and forth from Sunshine's vet appointment. I heard Charles Barkley on the Stephen A. Smith show say that he has them as the favorite in the East over the New York Knicks, the reigning champion. And I see a lot of people putting him there. I am not. I am not putting him there. I'm not putting the Sixers there yet. Just because you put a lot of stars together does not mean that that's going to be a good team. We saw that with the Miami Heat before they had to learn to play like a team. Who's numbers 1 through 4 on Philly? Who's on touches? It's going to matter. I don't know that they win this next year. I'm going to predict no title for them this next season. they're going to bow out in the playoffs. They're going to make playoffs, but they'll bow out in the playoffs because I just don't think you can build that cohesion that quick. I don't know. They could prove me wrong, but I know how big their egos are. That's my opinion about that. The Tour de France. What a tremendous Tour de France this has been. But there is one thing that I noticed today that I have to admit, and that's Tadej Pogačar is going to be the greatest cyclist that of all time ever. Definitely the best that I've ever seen and witnessed. His ability to just crank it up the mountains at 30 miles an hour out the West after climbing all day. It's insane. He's got an over 8-minute lead. He's over 8 minutes, and he won today. Incredible. Now, the race, though, is still on for the podium. Evenepoel's got about a 2-minute, 31-second lead over Isaac Del Toro. Now, here's the thing. Tadej has an 8-minute lead over Evenepoel. The yellow and the is pretty much sewn up. Del Toro's a teammate, and the UAE does not have many teammates left. They are having struggles with health. Wellens might have been dropped today. I'd be surprised if he did make it if he starts tomorrow. They've got a sickness going through their team, and it's not good. So first off, you got to keep Tadej and Isaac and the other members healthy. But Tadej getting himself such a big lead today and building that cushion may help him bring El Toro help get Del Toro up too and be a teammate. I could see him doing that. I could see Tadej being that teammate. Now, honestly, he really seems to be that good. It'll be interesting to see if that's the tactics they take to keep him on that podium, because 24 seconds behind him is Paul Sykes. And that's the guy who's got everything. Decathlon, CMA, CGM team, he's got everything to lose right now, or everything to gain, nothing to lose. If you finish fourth, you're finished fourth. If you can get up on that top three on that podium, that sponsor is so happy. And they will go for that as a team with whoever they have left in their team as well, because it does get thin pickings this time of the tour. But they will go for that. And so I'm curious if Pogačar went so hard today so that tomorrow he can go help get Del Toro through what is another brutal mountainous stage. And if he can't, and if he does, just adds to his level of greatness. Really does. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, huge thank you. Prairie View A&M head coach Tremaine Jackson. Thank you to everyone who was watching and listening. If you want to find me and you haven't seen it yet, and you CoryHogue Sports, that's what you search for. At Gmail, if you want to email me, let me know what you think. Let me know what you want. Let me know what you want to hear about. I'm here for you guys and not for myself. That truly is. Thank you so much. Be back Monday. Have an excellent weekend. Stay blessed.
Clear, sharp and bold, covering every team, every season, every story worth being told. The Cory Hogue Sports Show, the Cory Hogue Sports Show. Big stories and real conversations, bring the truth.